Hey everybody, it's Doug here, Doug Mystic on Board Game Geek. Welcome to the channel. And welcome to like my third week in a row of not feeling perfect and having all stuffed up craziness. I must have had bronchitis, just didn't go to the doctor or do anything about it, so it's finally fading away, but in the meantime it's just been plaguing me. Just part of the stressful end of 2017 that I had, and it's continuing to start that way in 2018 because I didn't want to do a Kickstarter preview all stuffed up and sinusy and everything because that's really professional and great. But we are going to do a Kickstarter preview today, and this is of the 2 to 4 player game Warpgate. Now, Warpgate is by Wolf Designa Studios, and this game is on Kickstarter right now. If you go up to the upper right hand of the screen, you'll see a little eye. You can click on there, and the cards will take you to the Kickstarter page that is currently running. And this is a great little 4X space game. It has some unique mechanics. We'll go over some of those as we'll go over all of them as we play. This will not be necessarily a full playthrough. I want to give you an understanding of the game. We'll talk about the victory conditions, the setup, all that good stuff. And we're going to get into it right away with this 3-player game of the yellow, green, and red players that you see here on the board. You can see the entire board set up for 3 players. There's these 3 large tiles, and this gets laid out randomly by the players, which gives different configurations and adds some different player options and advantages throughout the game. Now, and then you can see that we each have our warp gates, and the players will be playing from the perspective of the yellow player, which will be the first player in this playthrough. Now, what you're trying to accomplish is, of course, gain points. Now, how do you gain points? Well, you gain points by collecting these. I can't remember the name of them. I'm going to look them up just so I can make sure I give you the right name. But there is a type of card. There's advancements, technology advancements that will trigger the end game condition, but those don't necessarily help you win, even though they will give you some extra victory points. But anyway, there's these cards. Let me show them to you. I thought there was some fancy name, but it's just called the Planet Deck. You got the technology deck and the Planet Deck. The Planet Deck actually scores you victory points based on some conditions, and they may not be obvious. Like, you might draw one of these cards for a green planet, and it might really have nothing. The card itself might have absolutely nothing to do with green planets, so the other players don't really know what your victory conditions is, and each one of those cards that you score is worth 3 points at the end of the game. Triggering the end game condition once these decks are out, or you place the last of the cards from here to here, triggers the end game, which will then go in that round, go one more round, and then the game will be over, and everybody will score up their points. There's other ways to score points. There's some tokens for commodities, which also is another end game trigger, which we'll talk about, and then there's also these glory tokens, which give you 1 or 2 extra points toward the end of the game. And again, it's basically a 4X game, except for the exterminate piece. It's not as common in this game to have your ships, which are, remember, preface, all of this is prototype components for the Kickstarter. Nothing in here is final, so these little plastic ships are not the plastic ships that will come to the game. But your ships mainly withdraw as opposed to become destroyed. They're pretty resilient ships, so typically you're withdrawing. Now, this is a pretty fast game. It's not meant to be horribly long. It runs over a series of rounds. And it has some really neat, tricky little mechanics that I actually think are fantastic and haven't seen before in a game. Now, I play a lot of, I know you guys usually see solo games and that on my channel because that's what's easy to play on my channel, but I play a lot of strategic competitive games. Some of my favorites are 4X games like the bigger, not the newest one, even though I like that too, the bigger Civilization game, Clash of Cultures, Patchwork, I can't remember. Yes, basically lots of them. I have lots of them that I play. Currently, things like Blood Rage was one of my favorite competitive games to play. It's really cutthroat and fun. I like a lot of older ones too, like Zulkin. Zulkin's really awesome. Manhattan Project, another good one. Istanbul, but you get into the more 4X type games like Archipelago is another good one I can think of. Anyway, I like those kind of games. Explore, exterminate, whatever they are, right? So anyway, we're going to get into this game. I'm going to show you how the mechanics work and play a few rounds so that you can see if this is something that you would like to get on Kickstarter, which, like I said, is currently live. It's not a horribly expensive game. That's great. And it's got some great fast components. I think you can boil this 4X game down to something that won't take you all day to play, which is great. Now, each of our each player takes a board that represents their space empire, and they've developed a warp gate into this sector of space that it needs to be taken over and controlled, and each one is unique in and of itself. So this Elinari consciousness is one of the ones that you can take. You see they look like they're some kind of alien robotic people. Anyway, they have their cybernetic strategies is their main ability. It says you may choose to play both of your combat cards. If you do, resolve both effects in any order, but only the lowest multiplier counts. I'll explain how all that works, but basically when you go into a combat, you draw 2 of your combat cards. Each player has their own individual combat deck, and it looks like this, and it has cards that will do different things. Mainly give you a multiplier, so you can multiply your ships by the combat card and a special ability of some sort. So in this case, their power is that you can play both of the 2 cards that you play for their special ability. You don't have to. This basically, there's some symbology up here that helps you in the game. It tells you some values of things that are worth points to you and how things work. Just a little bit, but it's really not necessary because the game's pretty intuitive. Down here you see the technology track. As we acquire new technologies, we will put them there, and that's how we'll end up with some new tech that we get from those cards. And I'll show you how Explorer, we have a scientist, like a science fleet that flies around to different planets, etc., etc. This 1x, 2x, 3x, 4x is a very cool mechanic because you're going to draw out of your specialized deck of actions, and everybody's got the same action set. But different special abilities. You're going to draw 4 cards, and you're going to play each of those cards throughout the turn or the whole round. Turn 1, turn 2, turn 3, and turn 4. Now the thing is these multipliers have an impact. So when you play a card that says multiply it by your turn, it could be by this number. So if you want to increase the size of your fleet and you play it here, you're only going to get 1 ship, or if you do it on turn 4, you're going to get 4 ships, and that's pretty cool. But let's take a look at the other 2 character boards right now. Here we have the United Earth Colonies. It says extreme adaptability. You draw 5 cards at the end of each round. So when we draw up our new hand, we get 5 cards instead of 4. That gives some additional flexibility to the game for them. And again, you can see 1, 2, 3, 4x. Now there is one that we're not playing that has their cool ability is. Oh, I don't have that one actually. I thought it had a thing where it did. Start with 2. That's right. There are 2 different sides to these, and each one has a different ability. I want to find the one, because if it is, that's the side I want. We want to play this side. The Nomad Fleets of Earth. The reason I want to play this is because I want to demonstrate this to you. They start with a 2, so it's 2x, 2x, 3x, 4x. So instead of, that's their only ability, but that's a pretty cool ability. So that's an interesting one. That's the green player. Now let's go look at our board. We're going to be playing the Actar, I just did this randomly, the Actar Ascendancy, and our ability is Higher Understanding. We may use a concentrate action as a research action to get more technologies. So we're better at getting technologies than some of the other players, so we need to focus on that, acquiring technology. It's not that hard to do, actually, in this game. It's pretty simple. And you'll see how all that plays out in just a moment, because we're about to start. So again, we're trying to accumulate victory points from collecting cards from the planets by getting these commodity tokens, which is a trade action, and etc., etc. So we're going to do that. First off, that we're going to do, though, is we're going to draw our 4 cards. So while we're here and focused on our sheet, I'm going to do a quick little shuffle, and we're going to draw the 4 cards. I already shuffled all these, but, why not? And we're going to draw 4 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, I want to remind you that while you're looking at these they look pretty complete. This is a prototype. And I know the ships are different. The control tokens, which we'll talk about, are very different. They're named, everything is pretty neat in the real game. And again, you can go check all that out on the Kickstarter page. So here's the starting hand that we have. We have a control. We have trade. And basically, these are 2-sided. You can use one or the other. You can't use both. There is a racial type that can use both. They can use the top and bottom on their first action only, on the first turn, I think. And then there's trade, research, etc. So this is probably one we're going to want to do early on. It says move your scientist up to an X away. X empty spaces means that if there's one space between 2 planets, that's 1 space, and you can move from one planet to the other. Control allows us to take control and place our control markers. Draw cards. Advance. Advance is an attack. Red means it's an attack action. Blue means it's a movement action. So that when you're moving your ships, you'll know if there's an attack associated with by whether or not it's red or blue, for example. So we have a couple of controls. This isn't the best setup to start with, but that's our hand. Now I'm not going to show you the other players' hands. I'm just going to show you what they play, because we'll be playing from this perspective. And I took the first player token so that you can see that turn go first. So I'm going to draw up. We're going to take our. I'm going to go to the board. We're going to play our hand, and we're going to see how it plays out. All right, so let's get started. Now we're going to take our first turn. You can see we have the first player marker, so that's going to move at the end of each time we complete one of these segments. It'll move to the next player, and I think we're going to take the easy way out for ourselves because it makes some sense. Now we know we have this research card, so we're going to play in our 1x slot or the research card because there is actually very easy pickings right close to us to start off by getting some new technologies. So we play research, and I'll read these cards the first time to you so you can see what they say. It says move your scientist to a planet up to X empty spaces away. If it matches at least one of the available technologies, claim a technology. Okay, well, here's how that works. As you can see, we're here. This is our scientist right here. He's going to, and all the scientists look the same at this point. I think they might look different in the final result. I don't know. But basically, we're looking for, we're at our warp gate here. We're looking for an empty space. So you can see there's an empty space between this and this planet here. So what we're going to do is we're going to travel to that planet that's one empty space away. And then what we're looking at in this deck is these two cards. Now you saw the planet that we were going to matched this card. So there is a yellow planet there that we visited that we can do some research on. Now what we're going to do in this case of this particular deck is we're going to take both of these cards and take a look at them. And we're going to get to claim one of these technologies. And you'll see how they work. They're very simple. So we have robotics. During turn one you may resolve both actions, top action first. So for example, in this case we could have resolved both. If we could resolve both the trade and the research action in order of trade going first, but we didn't have that ability anyway. And then the warp capacitor, it says you may start a battle when you warp. If you do, your fleet counts as having one additional ship. Well, warping is the ability to travel in a straight line all the way across the board. That's kind of interesting, but I think we're going to take this one so that we can take advantage of the top and bottom abilities. So this is going to go right here under our technologies. So we have our first technology. We developed robotics. And that's basically our entire turn for the first turn. So the next player, the green player, is going to take their level 1 action. Before we do that, we do definitely take out another, not up top. We take out another card. I didn't look at it. But we got 2 yellow cards there now. So if planet is 1 away or somebody can get to do research, then there's 2 available. They still can only take 1. So the green player is going to play this action. We have a choice of reinforce. Add 1 ship to your fleet of X or less ships anywhere. Now remember, the Nomad fleet of Earth starts off with a 2X, so that would be a fleet of 2 or less. We don't have that, so we're going to do a recon action. It says move 1 of your ships to a planet X empty spaces away. You may not start a battle, that's why it's blue in the movement. So we're going to play that there, and they're going to take their action. So essentially what we're doing is we're looking for a planet that's 2 empty spaces away. We got a bunch of choices, but I think we're going to start to populate out here. This one's going to be on a lockdown for them, I think. So basically we get to send a ship out to here. So we fly a ship out to there, and then that will allow us to start to control this sector. This sector here has 2 planets in it, and that's important, and you'll see how that plays out. This map ended up really bizarre. There's a lot of 1 and only 2 planet zones. There's not any that have 3, so that'll be interesting, but there's a number of them that have 1. So there's going to be a lot of control flying around the board. But let's go. That was it. That was his entire turn. So let's go to the Alarnari Consciousness. That's the red player. So the red player is going to do much the same. It's going to play their recon action, which they're going to then send a ship out. But again, they only can move 1, so they can only move into 1 space outside their influence. Gaining control of a sector is very important, and you can see that we have some planets, a green planet and a white planet. It's going to make a difference as we try and gain control of sectors and try and get victory conditions that allow us to win. So if you look at the board, we can move 1 empty space. So here's an empty space. We can move to this. We can move our fleet to this red planet, or we could move our fleet to this white planet. Well, the white planet definitely has 1 in the area of control cards up there for the planets, but this has 2 planets in it, so it'd be a little tougher to take control of. However, I think that's going to be their first move, is to move into that zone and get that white planet there. And that was everybody's first turn action. So now we're going to go to the second turn action and take that as well. We'll start with our own Actar Ascendancy. Now remember, our turn 1 ability only works on turn 1, so that doesn't help us very much. We do, however, probably want to start populating some space as well. And we have a couple of control markers, right? So the question is, with these cards that we have, how do we get out farther into space. Well, I could do this. We could move 2 of our fleets up to 2 different planets, two different planets, up to X number of spaces away. I think we're going to play that one because then the next turn we can take control of something. So we can move 2 planets up to 2 spaces away. So let's play that and go take a look. Oop, wrong board. Take a look at what we can do with that there, and see what our actions are going to allow us to do. Well, see, this is rather interesting because what we really want to do is probably get over here and take control of this because it's got a green and yellow, give us some victory conditions when we take control. But we're not likely to colonize it that quickly. But we're looking for 2 away. So this one's 2 away. So we can get, remember, 2 different ships. So we can get 1 ship here, and again, that's the redeploy action. It says move 2 of your fleets to 2 different planets up to X spaces away. So we'll move 1 there and 1 there. Now we're also starting to develop these commodities. If we can connect 3 commodities together in a trade action, then we can get one of those commodity tokens, which is worth 2 victory points. Okay, so that was it for our turn. We redeployed our ships and got our fleet going out there. That's pretty good. So apparently Green's not very happy with their cards, and we're too spread out right now to start fighting with each other. So they're going to play a draw action, which allows us to then draw 2 cards from our action deck and perhaps give us some additional advantages. So that's all that happens, is they drew the 2 cards. Let's see. Yeah, they just weren't happy. They didn't have anything that they could do that was truly advantageous. So they wanted to get some more cards, and it does look like they're going to be able to do something worthwhile as a result. So that was their turn. Now we're going to move on to the Lunari Conscious. They are the red player, and see what they're going to do. Okay, so on turn 2, what are they going to do? They have a couple of different things that they could do to populate the space, and I think they're going to play their recon action. Then the concentrate action is a fighting action, but we could move and not fight, but then we'll just play the recon action because that's going to serve our purpose. They're going to put that in the 2x spot, and I'll show you what they're going to do. So they're going to, remember it's 2 away because they played it in their 2x spot, so there's 2 empty spaces there where they're going to fly 1 out to here, and then we're going to fly 1 out to here, so that we spread ourselves out. But again, we're not really at any major risk of being attacked yet, so I think it's okay. It's a good early game start. We can start to reinforce those later. But that was the end of the Lunari Consciousness turn. So let's go back to our turn and take our 3x turn action. So we had great cards for the first couple turns, allowed us to do the things we need, but we're really kind of stuck because I don't want to do this control action yet because there are no planets that represent us that could give us some victory points that we could immediately control. So we're going to do this draw action and draw 3 additional cards from our action deck. So we're going to draw 1, 2, 3. And now why are we drawing 3? Because it says draw up to X from your action deck, X equaling the turn that we're on. So we're going to get a warp. Now the warp is interesting. It allows us to travel way across board. We get a build. That's good. Build some ships and a reinforce. That's pretty good too. So we have some things that we can do that will help us out in the last turn. That wasn't too bad, but that's our entire turn. So now we're going to move back to the 3x action for the green player, the Nomad fleet. So the humans are thinking they're going to dig on some technology too, and they're going to play this research card. Move your scientist up to 3 empty spaces to a planet. We're looking for a green, basically a orange planet. Oh wait, I don't think he can make it. Let me count my spaces here. He can't, so that's not going to help him much. Actually, he's going to rethink that turn. That's not going to help him. The planet is actually 4, if I look at it correctly, it is 4 empty spaces away. That is not helpful. So I think what we'll do then is, here's what we'll do this turn. We're going to build. So the green player is going to build. Let's place X ships at your warp gate. As you can see, the green player is starting to reinforce their fleet. They get 3 additional ships there. That's pretty good. They're starting to look very warlike to the rest of the players. But now we're going to get on to the Lunari Consciousness, the red player, and see what they're going to do. They do only have 2 cards. Well, they're going to have to do some drawing too. Nobody got very good starting hands really to do that with. So they're going to get 3 additional cards from their action deck. Now that means they could end up drawing something really useful to them, but we'll have to see. So that was their turn, and so we only have 1 more turn left to go in this round before we end up drawing a whole new set of cards and doing the end of the round stuff that we have to do. So it's up to us, and now we really don't want to take control of that sector yet, because if we do, we will be colonizing it because we own both planets. But I don't see that that's going to help us much because it would not get us a card that we need at this point. So I think what we're going to do is we are going to build in a big way. So we're going to play our build card. That is going to go there, and that is going to be 4 ships. So we're going to get 4 ships into our Warpgate here to reinforce our fleet. Okay, so there's the 4 ships at our Warpgate, and we got 5 ships there. So we're pretty powerful. We got some things going on there as far as our fleet's going. We can spread those out and start to reinforce this area that we want to take over. And again, we haven't done it yet because we need to move to a space with a white planet or a green planet. We just haven't done that as far as being able to take control. We have to have all the planets in the sector to be able to colonize it and take one of those cards. So we haven't done it yet. But that's the end of our action. So now we're going to move on to the green player. Okay, well now the green player is getting to do their research action. It's 4X. They needed to do that because the planet that required research is that far away. So let's take a look. Now remember, you have to be 4 empty spaces away. So they got a couple of choices. We can't go, I think we go 1, 2, 3, 4. We can't get there, but we can go here, 1, 2, 3, 4, to this planet, way down over here. And now you think, well, is that risking your scientists? No, the science fleets cannot be attacked or destroyed or anything. They're one little dude, a little handful of people on a planet. You can't find them anyway. But let's go take a look at the technology, and I'll tell you which one they pick. Now, because we picked before, we do know that one of them was this warp capacitor, but is that the one that they're going to take? No, they're going to take stealth ships. So they're about to become an aggressor, I think. They're going to take stealth ships. This is when you attack with concentrate. That's an action card. Your opponent draws 1 less combat card. So that means they're only drawing 1 card. That's pretty bad for everybody. But that is going to be the technology that they take. And now there is a green card available, green planet card available for taking technology. So that's pretty good. And that is going to end the turn for the green player. Now we're going to go on to the red player, see what they do last. Okay, so let me look at their cards. What are they going to do? I think I know what they want to do. I just don't know if they can. Well, they can. Why not? I mean, heck, they want to get on this bandwagon too. Technology is important, right? But they don't have a lot of fleet out. They could. They don't. Yeah, they. Well, here's what they're going to do. They are, in fact, going to do a control action. It says place control markers on up to 4 planets. Well, we're only going to do 2. It's kind of a wasteful action, but you'll see how this works now. Okay, so basically, when you take control of a planet, you put your little control marker down like this. Now, we're taking control of up to 4 planets, so we're going to get to take control of this one, and this one. So we got 3 of our 4. That's pretty good. But because we control both of these zones, we are immediately going to flip those to colonies. Now they have the stars. Now in the final product, all of these have cool names and stuff, these little markers. But we get to flip that over into colonies, which means we get to take, the red players could be the one to take the first of the victory conditions. Based on some things they see on the board, they're going to take the white ice planet card and see what that is. Now, we're not going to get to see what that is. That's just going to go in their tableau, and it is going to help them to score at the end of the game. That is the end of the round. So basically what happens next is we discard all of our cards that we haven't played. We draw 4 more cards. 1, 2, 3, and 4. This is true of all the players. So we're going to have 4 cards. We're going to have these actions now. Of course, all of these get discarded as well, the ones we actually played. And then the turn marker is going to move now to the green player. The green player will be first player. So I'm going to go clean up their cards, and we'll get set up for the next round. So in the first turn now, remember they get a 2X, and they're going first. They're going to be playing a recon action and moving a ship a little distance away. So let's take a look at that. So this green player now, it's kind of a waste because they get that 2X movement, but it's not that big deal. They're just flipping a ship out to there using their recon action. So there's a ship that it can't start a battle with a recon action, so they just flew out that empty planet. And that's going to be their first turn. So now we're going to go on to the red player's turn, and they're going to take, I'm just going to show you what they're going to do, because they really are kind of in a bad state as far as being able to move around the board. However, they can't get anywhere either, so it might be interesting to see what they do. They're kind of struggling here with being able to move around. As you can see, everything is a bit far away for them, right? So I just wanted to show you that real quick. They have, like, the planets right around them don't help them. I'm showing you the research cards right next to them. Oh, I forgot to put one of these out. One of these are supposed to go out there. Okay. And so now we got a blue and a green planet. But we got a green and an orange planet, and the green planet is too far away for a first level technology advancement, so because they can't get far enough out. Building would be absolutely useless for them. So they're really kind of stuck on what they can do. They don't like any of their options. And I don't think that... I think what they're going to do is just play this advance card, but they're not going to do any attack. May move one of your fleets, one planet, up to X empty spaces away. Well, you don't have to maintain a fleet on a planet to keep control of it, so that's okay. So here's what we're gonna do with that. So they played that on their level 1 spot. Unfortunately for them, it might be a bit of a wasted turn, because they really can't get anywhere. I'm just looking at the board; they still can't get. There are at least 2. They end up with a really bad board position on that. They need at least 2 to be able to get anywhere, because they've already gotten close to the planets that they have. Oh, you know what? I forgot. He does control this. There's only 1 planet there. Unfortunately, there's red, and there was no red planets available to pick up a victory condition at point on, so it doesn't help. I think that the more I look at it, the more it's just, well, we could warp to a planet. That might be interesting. And we can't start a fight, but we can get somewhere, right? So why don't we do that? Because it says move your fleet to a planet up to 2 empty spaces away in a straight line. So he can't do that without starting a fight, and it doesn't allow you to start a fight. Oh man, he's just really stuck right now. I got to think about this a little more, but this shows you the strategic challenges that you run into with the cards. Okay, he can play in advance, so he's going to play in advance on his first turn, and he's simply going to go from here to here and take this space over. That wasn't ideal, but that's really the best option he had to get to another planet and start to do something there. Now he's starting to encroach on the yellow player's space. That's us, so we may have some problems there, because we know that his ability is the ability to choose 2 cards. He's kind of a fighter, so you got to be careful of that. Anyway, everybody's taken their level 1 turns but us, so what are we going to do? Well, I think for our first turn, we can, I believe, get to a research planet. We can. So we're going to do that again. We're going to use this card in our first slot to do a research action. And since we're mostly fixated on the board, I'll show you what we're going to do. We have to move to a planet 1 empty space away. We can do that. We can move to here. That's quite simple, and then we'll get to draw the 2 technologies. We know what one of them is, but we don't know what the other one is, so it'll be a surprise. It's terraforming. You may ignore the sector size restriction for completing a mission at the cost of 2 victory points. Okay, so you only get 1 victory point if you can't complete the mission. Or you may start a battle with when you warp. I guess we'll take this warp capacitor. That one's better for us now. Unfortunately, there's now 2 green planets that do technology. So we're going to take the warp capacitor, so now people see that we can fly out quickly and attack, but that's not going to do a whole heck of a lot for us in the end right now, so it might later on. Anyway, we got this huge fleet. We're not doing much with it. We did do some research. We got 2 technologies. They're pretty cool. And if you do get 4 technologies up, then that does give you some extra points, etc. Okay, well, that is the end of that round. So we're going to move on to the turn 2 action for the Earth player. All right, what are they going to do? Well, they have a pretty big fleet out there too. They could get some things done, I believe, but I do think that they're going to do something pretty straightforward. Yes, they are. They're going to do a control action, and we'll show you what that looks like out there for their second. Now they can control a planet. They can control up to 2 planets. We'll show you that. Okay, so they have 2 planets, so they're going to control this one. Oops, nope, no star side. And they're going to control this one, but this one is going to be a colony, so it would automatically flip over because there's only 1 planet in that sector. There also happens to be 1 card available to them, so they're going to take this card and be able to gain a victory condition based on that. So, okay, and that just goes into their stuff, so now they have that, and now we have the ability to gain control of that sector. We were waiting for a planet that we could actually get a benefit from, and now we have one because there's a red planet available for victory conditions. Alright, and that is going to be the 2x action for the Earth fleet. That's what they did. Now we're going to move on to the red player. So the red player can clearly see that we just put ourselves in a place where if he can control this, we'll get a victory condition, and he says, well, the best option he has right now is to mess with that, even though he has no technologies. So he can mess with us, or he can and take a chance that we cannot control that sector next turn and maybe knock us off that planet, or he can research. So for his second now, can he get to a planet that he can research from 2 spaces away? He can. But I think since he's warlike, his ability is you get to choose both your combat cards, he is going to do a skirmish. It says move one of your ships to a planet up to X enemy spaces away. Okay, well, 2. So he's going to take this ship and he's going to fly it right to there, and we're going to have a combat action. So now how that works is we now get our yellow deck of battle cards, and we're going to draw 2, and we're going to play one. I'll show you how this works. It's very straightforward, very simple. So here are our 2 cards, 1, 2, and actually I didn't shuffle those very good, did I? Because I don't think I shuffled these before. Let's just make sure they're all shuffled up, and we'll try again. Okay, 1, 2. All right, whatever, maybe, maybe. Okay, so we got outmaneuver. Cancel the text but no modifier of the opponent's card. Well, I would cancel one of his card text. Now, we're only going to have a 1x, so we're going to have a 1 power in battle because it's times your ships. We have this price of glory. When attacking, claim a glory token unless the opponent also played price of glory. Well, here's the thing. We might play that because all he really, well, he doesn't want to tie with us. We'll play this one. So this goes down into, he doesn't know what we played. And then that's going to get discarded. So what is the red player going to play against us? Well, that's what we're going to find out. So let's take a look at and see how that ends up for the red player. I'm going to draw 2 of their cards, see what they get. And, okay, well, I think it's a no-brainer for him, actually. Yeah, it's a no-brainer. It's this is what he's going to do. Okay, so basically, he gets to play both of the effects of these cards. So he's going to play this one for the modifier, this one here. But it says just instead of getting rid of pushing a ship back. Now, when you win a battle, remember we played this, they played these, right? So we're going to cancel the effect of one of these cards. He's got 2 effects on his cards. So let's take a look at that. Okay, his cards are: if you lose this battle, destroy a ship in your fleet. Destroy one opponent's ship. Well, he could have just played this, but he wanted to win. So he played this, but he wants to destroy their ships too. So he won the battle, technically, but it really doesn't matter because well, it does matter because we can cancel the text on a card. So we're going to cancel that one, not destroy our ship. He won the battle, so we're going to have to retreat. We're going to retreat to the closest friendly planet. It's right here. And so he did successfully push us off the planet. And that kind of sucks. But then this ship blew up and got destroyed. So that was how that action works. Isn't that interesting? That is how combat works in the game. So that was it. Now I think we're going to end this here. We had a battle. Well, no, let's complete the turn. We were on round 2 for everybody, and we were about to take our turn. So we'll complete all 4 actions, and then we'll stop there. All right. Well, that was the red player's action. That really bummed out us because we had some things we wanted to be doing, and we can't do them. So I think what we're going to do is, yeah, okay, I know what we're going to do. We're going to do a redeploy. Now, we don't have another control card. He didn't know that. So he can't, he thought we probably did. That's why he wanted to push us off that planet. But we don't actually have one, so we can't do it anyway. But we can redeploy. Now, redeploy says move 2 of your fleets to 2 different planets to up to X empty spaces away. So we're going to move 2 to there, and then we'll take 2 from here, and we can take any number of our ships from a fleet and move them to there. And that was our entire move. So we reinforce that section again so that we can at some point control that sector. And that is going to be our turn 2, and then it moves on to the green player's turn 3. What are they going to do? Let's go see. Okay, well, they're going to do an advance action, but they're not actually going to start a big fight. They just want to move somewhere, and I'll show you where. Since it's on their 3 spot, they can move up to 3 spaces away, so they're going 1, 2, 3, and going to that planet right there. Now they have control of that as well. And that's all they could do. It says move 1 of your fleets. It says 1 of your fleets. So I think what they'll do is they'll put 2 ships there just to be on the safe side. Okay. And that is going to be their action. Then we go on to the red player's action. The red player pissed us off, though I doubt there's a whole lot we can do about it at this point. The red player is going to take their 3x action to do a research, and they're going to move their scientist. So they get to move their scientists up to 3 planets away. We'll just move them right there. Both the technologies are green planets, so that's okay. What do we get? We got the terraforming, which we were already aware of. We got fleet matrix. So you may move 1 additional fleet when you redeploy or concentrate. They'll take that. That is worth it. And that was the green, I'm sorry, that was the red player, right? Yes, red player did that. And so that goes on to the red player's board. There we go. And so there is a green card there. We know what that is. And then a yellow one is next. So we can go to a yellow planet and research. Not bad. Okay, that was, and now it's up to our turn again. What are we going to do? Well, we only have a couple of things left. We can't really do anything horribly effective. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to do a draw action as our 3-point action and draw 3 more cards. Now we only have 1 left, so we're going to get that one, and we're going to draw 2 more to concentrate in a recon. What we're looking for is a control. That'd be awesome, because then we can actually finally take control of that sector. So I'm shuffling up. We need 2 more cards. And so you get a, we got it. Okay, we got a control card. So we're going to be able to do that on our 4th turn. Control 4 planets, even though we only need 2. It's still okay. All right, and that basically was the end of our 3rd action. So now we're going to move on to the 4th action for the human fleet. They only have 1 card. So they are going to reinforce. You're going to say, add 1 ship to your fleet of X or less ships. Well, it's 4, so they can add a fleet anywhere. They're going to add it right there, so that they can beef up that section of space and not lose potential control of that when they do take control of it. Yeah, that's what they're doing. Okay, now that was their turn, so now we're going down to the final turn for the red player. They have a control and advance card. They really can't do a whole lot with that because they need some ships, right? So they're going to play that, but really all they can do is move 1 of their ships. And they're just going to move a ship back out to here, to keep it at least semi-reinforced so someone can't easily take control of it. They'll have to come in and knock the ship off and then try and take control. So that's really it. That was the entire round. So that, oh wait, we got ourselves. Sorry. But we know what we're doing, right? We got 1 more action, and we're going to do a control action. Now, because it's our 4th turn, we could do 4 planets in control, but we really don't have the ability to do that. So it might seem a bit wasted. It does allow us to take control of this planet and this planet, and since we control both the fleets in the sector, or both the planets in the sector, we get to flip those over and turn them into colonies, which allows us to draw the red planet card. What does it do? Now we get to see one of these. Control Oceanic. At the end of the game, score 3 victory points if you control a colony on an oceanic planet in a sector with 2 or more planets. Well, that's pretty doable. Actually, that's really not that easy to do for us, but we can try, and that card is now a permanent part of our potential victory conditions. And okay, here's where we're going to end it. I don't want the video going too long, guys. I'm not going to do a full playthrough like I said, but I think you get the idea of how Warpgate works. Pretty simple, straightforward game. I really love the mechanic where you have to decide, are you ratcheting up? Do you need to hold off and do that on turn 1? Do you need to wait until you can do a big fleet deployment or something on turn 4? But at the meantime, you might get hit from a skirmish or control or something else that's bad for you. And you can see how quickly the turns go, which makes this a very, very interesting little game. So I hope you'll go check out the Kickstarter, guys. That is the game Warpgate. It is available and live now to Kickstart. I will send you to the page by looking at the cards up in the right-hand corner. I'll also put a link somewhere in the notes at some point, and enjoy. Please go check out the Kickstarter. It's pretty neat. I may come back and finish this playthrough for you guys, but I think you get the idea. If I get an overwhelming cry to complete this, I will. But obviously I'm just playing against myself, so not horribly effective, but I think you get a great idea of how the game plays, how the control plays, and how you score victory points from controlling the planet sectors. So that is Warpgate. Thanks so much, and I will talk to you in the next video. Please expect something very cool next up. So talk to you later. Bye-bye.